All right, so Donald Trump was elected as our 47th president of the United States, 45th, and then y'all know what happened. He lost badly and then claimed he didn't lose, but maybe he didn't lose because nobody really knows. It's a big, crazy thing. I don't know what happened. I'm not too into that, but the 47th president of the United States will be Donald Trump, and he has started to make his cabinet picks. And the only person I could think better to talk to, hashtag Operation 1009, was hashtag Operation 1009 when he was on 3 Red Bulls. So we do have hashtag Operation 1009 on the phone. What's going on with you, brother?
Oh, man, I'm just jacked up on Mountain Dew. No playing.
Jacked up on that dude, true and true. Yeah, bro, it's been a wild ass political session this time. You know, there was a sweeping election. The Republicans did damn well, and now Donald Trump is president, and he's making his picks, brother.
You know, one pick at a time.
One pick at a time. Talk about first? We're going to talk about the picks. First off, I'm going to talk about a sketchy pick that I don't know if I like. So I don't know. Marco Rubio seems like, see, you know me, I'm anti-establishment. I'm anti-government. So if you told me he picked Marco Rubio, I'm like, all right, that dude's been a senator for a while, and he's kind of a weirdo. I'm not a big fan of Marco Rubio. By the way, here's a little clip of Donald Trump and Marco Rubio having a debate.
If he builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers, he'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it. The second...
So cute. Such a cute soundbite. But here's the guy that buys a house for $179,000. He sells it to a lobbyist who's probably here for $380,000, and then legislation is passed. You tell me about this guy. This is what we're going to have.
Here's the guy that inherited $200 million. If he hadn't inherited $200 million, you know where Donald Trump would be right now? Selling watches in Manhattan.
I have to say, Senator, he lied this time. He lied. 100%. 100%.
Senator, you lied about the Polish workers.
Yeah.
You lied.
So Marco and Donald Trump going at it. What's your thoughts on Marco Rubio being picked for Secretary of Defense?
Wait, so that was the two of them arguing, and that's the guy he picked to be in charge of defending you and me?
I believe so. Yeah, Marco Rubio was tapped to be Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense.
It sounded like a couple of people that have no idea what it's like to struggle like you and I do.
Secretary of State, rather. Secretary of State, rather. I want to get that right.
That's all I got from that. I was like, wow, they're not connected to my life or the way I live or what I go through.
So then let me ask you this. Damn. Is it possible for somebody who is not in our socioeconomic status to be able to govern and have empathy for us even though they've not been there? Are you saying that if you're rich, you can't possibly have our interest at heart?
Not saying that at all. No.
It sounds like it. You can see how it sounds like that, though.
Say again?
You can see how that sounds like that, though, right?
Oh, 100%. But that's my point. I had, backdooring it with, I don't even really know the name Marco Rubio. It's kind of one of my first time. I think I've heard that before, but I think Rubin was one. I thought like
Senator of Florida ran for president against Trump.
Okay. All right. So Senator of Florida ran for president. I guess it reiterates more my positioning that they're all really on the same team. At the end of the day, this is all Agenda 21. We're all moving in one direction, no matter how we slice dice and no matter how we pin these people apart. I mean, you literally had Jake Paul and Mike Tyson swinging at each other 1 minute. Now Paul's handing out an extra $5 million, talking about, you're my uncle now. And maybe that's because he held back on that right hook. I don't know.
Hey, with some of the picks that you're talking about, like, I agree. Like Kristi Noem, she's been in politics forever. Elise Stefanik, she seems cool. She's been in politics forever. Of course, Marco Rubio. And then you've got, people like Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat, but then became a Republican. Doug Burnham hasn't been in there too long, but some of these picks, I'm not a big fan of.
Tulsi Gabbard, I recognize that lady. If I'm not mistaken, I have pictures of her standing out in front of one of the capitals, and she's throwing up that big triangle Illuminati symbol. Like, similar to that, or how Jay-Z claims it's Rock Nation when they throw it up. But
you think Tulsi Gabbard's in the Illuminati?
I'm pretty sure I have those pictures. Yeah, actually, I'll start digging. But I remember that name. Hold on, I'd have to just
Tulsi
dig.
Gabbard's been a big name. She ran for president for the Democrats and then lost.
I could be wrong about that name. I could be wrong, but I'm like Tulsi. I feel like I remember that, and I feel like I remember the image. I'm gonna do a little digging while we talk. We can move forward.
All right, well, we're gonna move to a pick that Donald Trump has made for his administration that a lot of people thought they knew it was coming, and it was a guy by the name of Robert Kennedy Jr. So let's hear a little bit of how Robert Kennedy Jr. handles himself.
Information. Yes, Congressman Massey, and if by your leave, I'd like to just respond briefly to some of the what I would call defamations that have been just applied to me by the ranking member. I'm happy to talk to you about my opinions on these issues, what you have stated and tried to associate me with through guilt by association is simply inaccurate. Virtually everything, every statement that you just made about me is inaccurate. I have never advised Black Americans not to receive vaccines. At one point you say I'm anti-vax, and that's a bad thing. The other moment you point out that all my children are vaxxed. I'm fully compliant with the vaccine schedule myself, except for COVID. I took flu vaccines for 20 years straight.
So everybody's heard that RFK has been labeled an anti-vaxxer when he came out against one vaccine. So I think that's unfair. I like RFK, especially for Health and Human Services. He's a big, ripped, jacked 60-year-old dude who's been fighting lawsuits against Monsanto and companies like that his whole life. And he seems to be anti-corruption, so that's my number one shtick right there.
I wonder what his conversation with Supreme Justice Thomas Clarence. I wonder what their conversation would sound like.
And why? Before you tell me why does it matter what RFK's conversation that he had was with Justice Clarence Thomas? What does that mean?
Well, you said RFK has been vocal against GMOs and Monsanto, correct?
Yes.
Well, Clarence Thompson, before he became Supreme Justice, he was the lawyer for Monsanto. In fact, his last order of business as lawyer for Monsanto was to put out a report allowing them to try to just put food on the shelves without labeling it. And then he approved that report first thing coming into Supreme Justice. And he approved his own report moving court to court. It was really weird watching it all happen. But I remember holding up signs, I marched against this guy over 10 years ago, actually. People forget so quickly. And that picture of Tulsi Gabbard in front of the Capitol holding up the symbol, I just posted it on my wall asking, is this really Tulsi Gabbard? But yeah, dead set center. I'm not sure which Capitol building, but there she is. Big old Illuminati symbol up front. And, you can go from there, but it is on my wall.
I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really quick to go, they say they do stupid signs with their hands and then that makes them some sort of supremacist or weird stuff. I don't believe in all that immediately, but I could see where you could say that. Let's go on to my favorite pick. My favorite pick so far, and the Democrats don't like it. And you know me, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I just happen to have been on the side of Trump as opposed to this other side. This time, I voted Barack Obama before. So yeah, I'm a centrist. But so here's Matt Gaetz. This was my favorite pick for Attorney General.
Childish antics that we just observed indicate that we've got a lot of work to do, both in this House and the military, not to have radical racial ideology governing our discourse and governing the policy choices that we make in these bills. The policy choice that my amendment seeks to make ensures that we do not have the cancer of DEI harming our military. There is a time in every debate where everything has been said, but not yet by everyone. And that may be where we are in the DEI debate. But what I bring to the House now is the most fulsome amendment to completely remove DEI from the DOD. And even if my amendment doesn't pass, I want my colleagues to know that this NDAA in the base bill takes a meat cleaver to DEI. And the amendments that we have adopted in the last round of voting have certainly ensured that DEI, regardless of the passage or not of my amendment, will not be a principal feature of our military service if this bill becomes law, and that would be a great thing for our military.
So he's definitely anti-DEI when it comes to the military, and when it comes to these hearings, right? You've seen a lot of the congressional hearings, I would guess, right?
No. I don't watch a lot of that at all. It's like watching soap opera to me.
Let me give you another clip. Here's Senator Mayorkas, which is the Homeland Security guy for Biden. Here's Matt Gaetz giving him a couple questions.
If their claim for relief is not satisfied, they are subject to removal from the United States.
Right. Subject to removal sounds very different than actually removed. So I'm not interested in the process. I'm not interested in what people are subject to. 2 million people encountered and released. Not the expulsions under Title 42, not the criminals. How many of those people have you deported?
So, Congressman, a few points. Number one.
Just how many of the people? I just want to know how many. It's just a number.
Congressman, we are dealing with a completely broken immigration
system. I get it. No, Mr. Secretary, I'm not going to let you burn my 5 minutes. Do you know the answer? Do you know the number of people out of that 2 million that you've removed that aren't criminals?
I do know that we have removed more aggravated felons.
Right, I'm not asking about them. I've caveated that away, because here's what I'm sort of getting and what your non-responsiveness is demonstrating. The Mayorkas doctrine is this. If you show up at the border and get released into the country, if you don't commit a specific aggravated felony, which, by the way, doesn't include a lot of assault and battery, doesn't include a lot of bad domestic violence, but if you're not one of the people who commit those crimes, you get to stay forever.
Bro, I just think that he is very, very polished, and he's very good, and he'll attack and he'll say whatever he wants. Matt Gaetz has everything that he's ever done on the House floor I've loved. There's not a lot. He nominated Jim Jordan to be when they had Mike Johnson, who's the he's the leader of the House of Republicans for the leader of the House, and he's a Republican. I don't like Mike Johnson. I would have much rather had Jim Jordan, and that's who Matt Gaetz picked. But they picked Mike Johnson, who is more establishment-y. But I love Matt Gaetz, and I'm sure there's that one thing about Matt Gaetz that you don't love.
Well, it's I wouldn't know, right? Because they won't release the information. For some reason, they're allowed to have all of our files, but we're not allowed to have theirs.
So let me frame it. So, all right, here's the thing about Matt Gaetz. In about 6 years ago, Matt Gaetz was told, this is what I'm going to tell you what the newspapers told, and then I'm going to tell you what Matt Gaetz' rebuttal was. The newspapers and the left-wing media, not the right wing, the right wing didn't do this, of course, but the left-wing media said that Matt Gaetz was under investigation for trafficking underage girls. And that was the lead story. There may be some other stuff tied to it, like inappropriate this or that. But the big one was Matt Gaetz flew underage girls across state lines. Now, he went on Tucker Carlson as soon as the news broke and was like, yo, somebody called my house and told me they tried to extort me for money. So the first thing I did was went to the FBI. I haven't done any of this. They're going to investigate it. I'm going to be cool. They did about 6 months of investigating, and then Matt Gaetz was back on Congress. And now that Matt Gaetz is put up for the AG, they want to release the entire internal record of the FBI thing and to me, I just think the whole thing was a political hit job to begin with, so why re-release a political hit job? But what you're saying is sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Well, I mean, you would release it so you can see what they did, so you can hold people accountable for the hit job, right?
Oh, damn.
I mean,
shit.
At the end of the day, transparency is the only way to actually work with anything. And I'm one of those people that it's like, okay, if we're dealing with blind justice, it's justice that's supposed to be blind, not you and I.
Damn.
You understand? And let's go back to that conflict of interest. As soon as he was nominated, it was an immediate veto on the vote that they had just voted to release this information to the public, so at least we could look at it, because there are technically still what we would call victims speaking up that are still out there saying, hey, this happened to me. They're still walking around saying this, right? So we were supposed to be able to get that information, and they had just voted to release it, but that whole nomination immediately vetoed it, and we will never get to see that now. And this is coming from the same department of people that I know, we all know are corrupt. So
all
corrupt
right, so
that I
then,
guess.
okay, so I can understand your argument. Now, let me just ask you this. Do you believe that there's some sort of 6-year later thing that we don't know, that if it comes out he's ruined, or do you think it would be a drag through the mud fest? What do you think?
Ask that question again. I didn't hear the very first couple of words you asked.
Do you think by releasing the internal investigation, do you think that would be better for the people, as in showing more light, or do you think it would be worse for the people by corrupting them through the bias that they're going to show it through?
Well, I don't think you can add bias to an investigation that supposedly said there was nothing to investigate, closed it, and said there's nothing. So that's what the investigation should show everybody.
Okay, well then I completely agree with you.
I'm one of those people that think if they're allowed to literally spy on us from the inside out of everything, I mean, they can turn our phones into a sonar device. I've heard this from local law enforcement that I work with, that have worked with departments in the NSA. They literally monitor and document everything about our lives, and you're telling me we're not allowed to see what happened from the same courts that convicted Trump 37 times? I mean, where are we at? And how can we get to just pick and choose when we want to trust court and when we don't? That's weird to me. That's really
I get
weird.
You want them treated the same way as the people are treated, and I completely understand that.
Because I mean, well, it's just like Clarence Thompson going in from Monsanto's lawyer
Thomas.
to becoming Chief Justice. Clarence Thomas going from Monsanto's lawyer to Chief Justice, signing his own report. And that's a conflict of interest. That's the same thing as this over here. We don't see what's happening. Meanwhile, we've got these people in the background that just maneuver through power and privilege and prestige.
Well, whether that's a conflict of interest, I mean, anybody could work for anybody and then anything can come. But that's a different story. All right, so look, Trump picks 2 people to the department that he's making, which isn't an official government department. I want to call it an apartment. It's not an official government department yet, but there's 2 guys. One of them is Elon Musk, and the other one is Vivek Ramaswamy. Let's listen to Vivek Ramaswamy in this presidential debate that he had in, I believe this was 2020. This was 2020. Presidential debate in 2020. Here's Vivek Ramaswamy, who's Trump's Department of Government Affairs.
These corporate people that want to suddenly support us will take it.
I want to go back, though, to Nikki Haley's comment from earlier that she is somehow not responding to the will of these donors. Nikki, you were bankrupt when you left the UN. After you left the UN, you became a military contractor. You actually started joining service on the board of Boeing, whose back you scratched for a very long time, and then gave foreign multinational speeches like Hillary Clinton is, and now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt.
The fact of the matter is, we know from her history, Nikki will cave to those big donors when it counts, and that is not acceptable.
First of all, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him, and now they support me.
She said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. I think that's what people need to know.
Let's go.
Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house.
Bro,
this is the
he's holding up a sign that says Nikki equals corrupt.
problem. Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form of intellectual fraud.
Haley, would you like to respond?
They cut his microphone, but bro, how could you not love that? Even though if you think that's theater, that man acts that stuff out, bro. That's the way that guy is. So, yeah, man. I mean, I love him, and him and Elon Musk. I know I don't know. I don't really know exactly how you feel. I'll tell you how I feel about Elon Musk, and you tell me. First of all, the Department of Government Efficiency, I think, is a great idea. I think government spending is a complete waste in a lot of areas. I think because they get so much money that they can be like, all right, we'll charge you guys $70 per gun. And the gun costs $35. I think they'll overpay to get kickbacks. You need somebody in there to monitor and audit the money that's being spent by the government. That from a reliable source. I completely agree with the Department of Government Efficiency. Vivek Ramaswamy, great dude to headline it. You can't find nothing bad about that guy. Complete anti-corruption. And you got Elon Musk, a former Democrat who was woke and then went to the Trump side, and he is one of the most brightest minds of our entire world, and he's heading up that with him. Like, what the hell could you not like about Elon Musk?
There's a lot, but I'll go back to Ramaswamy.
Hold on, before he goes back to Ramaswamy, you guys are listening to Mosh Jelton and hashtag Operation 1009. We're talking about Trump's cabinet picks thus far. So what could you not like about Vivek or Elon?
Well, Vivek, I liked his talking when I heard some of what he had to say. However, his connections to Big Pharma are crazy. I mean, that dude literally has made a living selling pharmaceuticals to this country. And what we do know about the Western world is it's all about, feed the sick, not curing them. It's all about, almost keeping them that way. And it's hard for me to see a guy that's made a fortune in the pharmaceutical world to really care about the health of you and I. But, we aren't talking about, we're talking about government efficiency, right? And that to me makes me think about the Agenda 21 program. The Agenda 21, meaning getting us all inside the sustainable cities, reducing the population down about 90%. This all takes place about the year 2100. We're living in cities where we don't have private vehicles. Everything we need was in 600 meters or where we can stand. We're flown back and forth to imagine like the dome from the Simpsons movie, that kind of concept. I'm not going to go that crazy with it, but that is where they built that concept from that movie for, is those sustainable cities. And that whole idea of the world collapsing around you, that's what they're preparing us for. And when you realize that Musk in and of itself, well, him and Bill Gates, they both push to reduce the carbon to this planet to near zero.
You're talking about 15-minute cities, like what they're trying to do with
15. Well, they call them 15-minute cities now. Yes, I'm glad you say that. Now they call them 15 minutes because it's nicer. People don't want to hear sustainable cities. They don't want to hear that.
Hey, what do you think about the line that they're doing in the middle of Saudi Arabia? I believe they're doing a 9-mile line that's just a linear city where everything is in there. Anyways, that's a whole nother topic. So yeah, I mean,
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that trumps, no pun intended, what needs to be done. And you've got the guy that Starlink. I mean, you're talking about a hero here. When there are storms and there are wars and you need internet, he's got Starlink. He has the highest technological SpaceX company in the world. He bought Twitter and named it X, as in canceling cancel culture, for free speech. And that's what he says. I don't know if that's the truth, but that's what he says. And he also owns the biggest car company in the country, which is Tesla. And so he's also a guy with principles. His business is in Tesla manufacturing cars. Those cars are electric. He knows the president he's working for wants gas. So it would be in Elon's best interest to stay electric. But he forewent that. That is a privilege of making money that he would forego to be on Trump's team. Because why would he be with Trump if he makes electric cars and Trump's for gas, if the dude didn't at least have principles?
So I can point the finger at that guy and say, no, it was his idea when people don't agree with me. I mean, at the end of the day, what I did see happen was the Republicans would never, ever, ever infringe on the Second Amendment. However, they totally did with Trump back in 2017. They got rid of the bump stock.
The bump
and they stood
stocks.
beside him.
Yeah, I don't agree with the bump stocks, man. Trump banned the bump stocks.
But the point is the mindset. The point is the mindset. We can sit and say that, hey, I'm against something all day long. But let's say that would have fallen through. Who would you have pointed out? No, that was their idea. At the end of the day, when you surround yourself with people that are moving towards an agenda, 21, what does it say about you? And I'm not saying that I'm not going to sit here and tear Trump apart. What I am going to sit here and talk about are these people that are around him, though.
Who the hell is it responsible for fucking Agenda 21?
Who's responsible for it?
What
this
is
thing's
that?
been written sometime. It's a global. Have you ever heard of the Global Economic Forum or the World Economic Forum or the Bilderberg Group or any of those people?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, these are those people that put this together. In fact, they have this thing out called the Earth Charter as well. It goes for the year 2200. Once been living in the cities for 100 years. These people are still writing Bibles. Dude.
Oh, so we need to have So we need to have a complete podcast on that because that's also a big thing. All right, the last person I want to talk to, and there's so many people we could talk about, but the last person I want to talk about now, while we can, is Trump's pick for border czar, the guy to make sure that the border is sealed. His name is Tom Homan. He was a border agent patrolman, and he was at the top of the border agency. And here's a little dust up that he had in Congress with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So this is Tom Homan, Trump's pick to run the border.
Francis Cisna. Is this correct? Did you sign the memo?
I'd have to see what you...
Yeah, give him.
I'd be happy to provide it. And we'll provide it over, but I would like to note that here it says the official recommendation. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. This initiative would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults, including those presenting with a family unit. Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo?
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation?
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way.
Oh, man, he completely obliterated AOC. Tom Homan, have you ever heard of Tom Homan?
No, but I'm glad you played that, actually. You see, me, I live down here close to Mexico, and I actually have family that does come across that border, actually very, very close to me. And I've got a lot of opinions on it, but it's interesting that, she was like, well, I give multiple options and this and this. Well, that reminded me of the scene in the Simpsons movie where they're giving Arnold Schwarzenegger 5 different options, and I picked C, and he's like, you don't even want to look first? It's like, I picked C, and the dome goes over the city. It's literally reminiscent of that, and I know that this is the last one you wanted to speak of, but I wanted to bring up Caroline Leavitt, and the fact that it's in question who her dad is.
Caroline Leavitt. All right, so you're talking about Caroline Leavitt. That is the Trump's pick for the White House press secretary. She's that's the person that speaks with the press on behalf of the president. She's 27 years old. She would be the youngest White House press secretary in history. And so what's your beef with this 27-year-old little girl?
Well, it's not with her. It's over who her potential family is. That last name Leavitt's very important, Leavitt. It falls back to a guy named David Leavitt in Utah, who's the county attorney. And he's currently being investigated for ritual, red rum, child, African tray, and
allegedly, and who's allegedly told you this stuff?
And allegedly cannibalism. And this is the county of attorney. He's within the Mormon Church. This is an active investigation, and there's debate as to who exactly her family is. It looks like they're leaning towards her family is like from New Hampshire and not connected to the David Leavitt guy. But there's a lot of articles that say otherwise. And with that stated, we saw what they did with Barry Soetoro and Michael LaVaughn Robinson and their children. They made them out to be Michelle Obama and
all right. Well, that's a whole different.
Kids.
And see, now you're getting into the hay with the weeds, but that's cool because this is a podcast. That's the best part about it. But there was, if you were going to say, there's been an article that was put out that says that he was prosecuted for, quote, and I'm not saying this is what this article says, quote, ritualistic child sacrifice. If you say that stuff, that you can get away with. But if you're like, he just got arrested and then he's been put in the jail, and then now he's been hit for ritualistic child sacrifice. I mean, we can't just throw that out there. And even the Barry Soetoro, Michael LaVaughn stuff has got to be very subtle. You can't ram that point home. You know what I'm saying? You just got to throw it in there and then throw those jabs in there. Everyone that knows will know and they'll appreciate it.
Fair enough.
Hey, man. Hey, these picks are wild. It's my favorite cabinet in the history of the presidency. I'm a little scared of Huckabee. I'm a little scared of Marco Rubio being Secretary of State. That's a big job. And
that's weird. You're worried about those things. I'm worried about Dr. Oz, the guy that's over there associated with the spirit cooking Marina Abramovich being tied anywhere near anything.
He's allegedly what?
Allegedly has full pictures out there with Marina Abramovich, and she's the spirit cooking lady. She's
allegedly what?
The spirit cooking. There's no alleged to it. It's called spirit cooking. It's where they make these cakes out of what look like human bodies, and they eat them, and they have these big
I've seen the videos. You can find that on YouTube. Type in Marina Abramovich cake eating video. Slow down, one at a time.
It's called spirit cooking.
Easy. Marina Abramovich, you can YouTube her. She is online doing what she's called spirit cooking. She's in one of these. You got to wait for me. You got to wait for me to finish the thought. She's in one of these points where she's in a room and there's four corners and she's doing some weird stuff with a bucket of what looks crazy. And that's for deeper and darker. But that person is a real person for sure.
Yeah, in fact, she's had control over the industry for some time, or influence, should I say, within the industry for some time. You remember Tom Petty? Go watch his music video for "Don't Come Around Here No More."
I do remember Tom Petty.
That music video for "Don't Come Around Here No More" is based around spirit cooking. If you remember, Alice in Chains. Go watch the music video for "Your Decision."
I remember Alice in Chains. I love them.
Watch the music video for "Your Decision" and pause it at the end and look at that menu. They're serving human flesh on the menu. That whole thing is about the bureaucrats and the billionaires and the wealthy and the elite eating people.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of art that's about some sick stuff. But I'm just saying, I think the cabinet, for me, I think it was great. It's kind of a wait and see thing. So I guess we're gonna wait and see how this cabinet shaped up.
Well, that's the Dr. Oz that's, connected to Oprah, who's tied in with all those convicted traffickers, and
she's allegedly, Oprah's allegedly tied into the convicted. Yeah, and that's another long rabbit hole. But
John of God. She did a whole special for John of God. She brought John of God to the light in the sense of the world stage. And then John of God was convicted of not just trafficking children and humans, but he was breeding children and humans. And
well, just because he was convicted and Oprah knew
him
him doesn't really mean much. So us throwing that out there is, I get it. She may have brushed up with some guy that's done some wild shit.
The reason we know Dr. Oz is because she brought Dr. Oz to the world stage, just like she brought John of God to the world stage, just like she walked up there with Harvey
Weinstein. What the hell has Dr. Oz done?
Huh?
What the hell has Dr. Oz done?
It's the association thing. That's what I'm saying. It's the association thing that gets me. It's me. I'm one of those people. It's like, you're too close. How can you sit this close with these people?
Yeah, but you just can't end up being one of those people that goes, you're too close, so now everybody's got to go because everybody's so close. That so close is such at the end of the Overton window moves for so close, and then so now everybody is to be mistrusted, and I'm the only. How do you know I'm not part of them, bro?
It's association. At the end of the day, association is very important. You've got Elon Musk posting Nuova Order Seclorum written on the bottom of the $1 bill that was pinned by a man named
here's
Adam
what they do. Hold on. Here's what you're doing here. Elon Musk made a post that was a troll post because everybody knows Elon Musk is a troll. And
that's fine.
Hold on. Let me finish. The New World Order was something that came from Bush. They were going to take it over, digital, whatever. The establishment, the government, the establishment had a new world order. And when Trump won this presidency, Elon made a post saying Novus, whatever it's called. And that meant New World Order in Latin, pretty much saying, this is the New World Order, not what you were saying. And for you to take that, how do you not know that that's not satirical?
It's Latin for Order of the New Age, and the Illuminati was formed. This New World Order, pinned by Adam Weisenhaupt, was pinned and created first, 1776, just 2 months before the founding fathers turned around and signed the Declaration of Independence. Those same Masons, those same Freemasons were involved in both scripts. Within 2 months, literally, we created Illuminati, we created this country. There's a reason that George Washington has the Masonic symbols on his aprons and all the pictures. There's a reason.
You've got so much good stuff in the podcast, but if I went from right now to everything you said and I tried to clarify and go to every interesting direction, we would have a 17-hour podcast. We got to get you to stay.
It's tough to tie it all in, but that's my point. It's
focused.
You went to the Bush side, so you associate New World Order with Bush, and then I'm going all the way back.
You've got so much information in your head. You're trying to get it out at NASCAR speed. You're making me feel like I got to stand up on the microphone and pace back and forth while I'm listening to this. But I love it. It's so much. That's why you're the guy. That's why you're the guy I call, because you know all this stuff. All right, so those are the picks, and we call you for this stuff, and we're gonna be needing a lot more pods with you because there's a lot of stuff coming up, man, and we appreciate it. It's #Operation 1009. Thank you for being here, brother.
Love you, brother. Thank you for having me.